Hi everyone, welcome to my double game week 25 tips video. Yes, I know the deadline's not until Friday the 14th of February, so we have some time before we make a decision. But with FPL being crazy recently, loads of games, double game weeks, chips being activated, injuries and suspension, I thought in this period I'll bring you 5 tips, 5 things you should be thinking about over this period, so when it is decision time, you're ready to go. Now if this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Tip number 1. Do not make transfers until the second leg of the EFL Cup semi-final games have been played. Now, I cannot begin to tell you how important this is. In all my videos, I always tell you when there is midweek fixtures, just in case we get injury or we get some more information from the managers on their press conferences. This is far more important. You're getting that, but you're also going to get the double game week 25 information that we need before we make any changes. The games we want to wait for are on the screen. So it's Newcastle versus Arsenal on Wednesday. Currently Newcastle lead 2-0 on aggregate, but you saw what Arsenal done to Man City and you saw Newcastle's performance versus Fulham. So this game is definitely still in the air. And the second fixture on Thursday is Liverpool versus Tottenham. Tottenham currently lead 1-0, but Liverpool at Anfield are a different animal, so this game is up in the air. So once these fixtures are completed, we're going to have a clear picture of what's happening in double game week 25. And if you look on the screen now, you will see these are the permutations we have available. So if Liverpool beats Spurs, Liverpool double again. So it'll be a double in 24, back-to-back doubles. Incredible. Liverpool versus Wolves, Liverpool versus Aston Villa. And then Aston Villa will get a double. Aston Villa versus Ipswich and versus Liverpool. If Spurs beat Liverpool and reach the final, they will get a double game week versus Manchester United and Fulham. Fulham also double versus Nottingham Forest and Spurs. And the last permutation is if Arsenal do beat Newcastle and reach the final, they will have a double game week versus Leicester and Chelsea. Chelsea will also get a double game week versus Brighton and Arsenal. So now you can see why it's so important for us to wait until these fixtures are played. Not only do you get the information so you know who to attack for double game week 25, you also get the information of which teams blank in game week 29. This is vital for our planning going forward. So definitely, tip number 1, don't make any transfers until these games have been played. Number 2 is for the managers who activated the assistant manager chip. Now, if you're like me and activated it, you need to start thinking about whether you're going to keep the manager or transfer them out for another manager. Have a look on the screen now, you'll see 4 managers which were very popular in game week 24. Slot was the most popular, currently on 10 points, still has 1 game to go versus Everton, and you've got Moyes on 12 points who has that second fixture versus Liverpool. Areola with a 0-pointer, Mikel Arteta with an 11-pointer. As you can see, the points return is pretty healthy, and when you consider there's other games to go, someone like Slot could end up with 20 points in 1 game week. That's unreal, especially when you baseline it against a triple captain or a bench boost where we normally say if it's 15 to 20 points, you've had a great return. This one here on projection is looking between 30 to 50 points, which is ridiculous. So it's definitely worth your while thinking about what you're going to do for game week 25 with your assistant manager. Now, should you keep or should you sell your assistant manager? Again, I'm going to point back to tip number 1. Those fixtures are so important in what we do because dependent on the double game weeks we get in 25, I'm going to want one of those managers because we've already seen from game week 24, the managers who've doubled are looking like they're going to score huge in this assistant manager chip, and I'm going to want the same in game week 25. So from my perspective, I've gone Slot, who's still got a second fixture in 24 versus Everton, and if he doubles again in 25, I'm going to keep him. Saves me a transfer, I'm maximizing on games, 2 games for the price of 1, and you've seen the point scoring system, it looks like we could be in for a real high score here. And likewise, if you have David Moyes, who's done you well in game week 24, I think it's worthwhile for you to transfer him out and bring in a manager that does double in game week 24. Whether that's Unai Emery or Slot or Arteta, it all depends on who gets a double game week in 25. In fact, I will say it's even worthwhile taking a hit to attack a double game week manager. As we've seen from game week 24, predicting a manager that's going to win and get a couple of goals is much more easier than predicting a player getting attacking returns within a specific team. That's much more difficult. So the point I'm getting at, you should get your -4 back with interest. Another thing to consider is budget. If you have got Moyes and you want to go to Slot or Arteta, you're going to have to free up some more money as Moyes was quite cheap, 0.5, and Slot and Arteta would be 1.5 million. So bear that in mind as well. You need to free up the budget. And lastly, it's just a reminder for you to take your time and actually consider what you're going to do with the assistant manager because it's the most powerful chip we've ever had. I said earlier on about the scoring system and the potential here. The projections are unreal. So do take your time and really think about what you're going to do and who you're going to bring in. It's worthwhile. It really is worth that extra effort, because for all you know, you might make 30 points on some of your rivals in the mini leagues if you get this chip correct. Now, the third thing we need to start thinking about is if you own Trent, what are we going to do with him? If you were watching the game against Bournemouth, an excellent victory for Liverpool, 2-0 away against Bournemouth, who are flying high this season. But unfortunately, Trent started to complaining of a thigh injury, started pointing at his thigh, eventually went to the ground and then came off. From an FPL perspective, yes, we got the clean sheet. We was happy about that, but it does bring us problems that we're going to have to deal with. Liverpool being one of the best teams in the Premier League, most of us are tripled up, whether it's 3 players or 2 players and an assistant manager. And we're going to want to continue that trend if Liverpool get a double in 25. I, for one, I'm not going to want to go into double game week 25 with a player that might play 1 game or even half a game, which is not ideal for me. So I've started to look at permutations where I move him out for another player who doubles and maybe free up some money to bring in another player who doubles in another position. But again, it all comes down to we have to wait for information. Just like I said in tip 1, we're waiting for the EFL Cup games to finish. We're also waiting to see if we get some good news from Slot regarding Trent. But this is something definitely you need to start thinking about, because if it does turn out that he is out, are you going to bench a 7.5 million asset for a double game week, taking up a Liverpool slot? It's not ideal at all, is it? So definitely start thinking about what you would do with that money. How would you move it around? Because I've already started to do that. Tip number 4 is all about chip strategies and how to get the maximum out of our chips. Recently, chip season has fully taken off. I've seen triple captains, bench boost, assistant manager, wild cards, free hits. It's all popping off. But the reality is the best way to maximize your chips is to link them with double game weeks or blank game weeks. Now, if you look on the screen, you'll see a schedule of the remaining blanks and doubles for the remainder of the season. Game week 25, we have a double game week. I already spoke about this at the start. This is all dependent on the EFL Cup semi-finals. So again, we get a small double game week. Game week 29, which is actually linked to the EFL Cup final as well. The 2 teams that play there won't play. They're going to blank in game week 29, which gives us 4 teams blanking in 29. You need to start preparing for that. You might want to use your free hit. Again, utilizing your chip. At least if you're aware of this and plan for it, you have the option. Game week 33 is a massive double game week. So a lot of managers might wildcard in game week 32, have 15 players that double in 33 and then use the bench boost. That's an example of chaining your chips to get maximum potential out of them. Game week 34 is straight with a blank. Again, you might want to save your free hit. So if you plan well in game week 29 and don't use your free hit, you might be able to use it in game week 34. Or you might wildcard. There's so many different permutations, but again, utilizing your chips in this period is vital, because if you stack up your team for game week 33, for example, loads of those players might not play in 34. So how do you get a maximum of 33, but still don't suffer badly in game week 34? It's all about your chips and your planning. And lastly, game week 36, we get another double game week. So for example, if you didn't use your assistant manager in game week 24, you might save it for game week 36 and get the double in 36 and then 37 and 38. End the season on a high with huge scores. So the potential is there. Like I said, it's all about maximizing your chips. Nothing wrong with using a chip in a single game week. Loads of seasons. In fact, the seasons I had incredible scores. I used my triple captain in single game weeks. So there's no issues there. I'm not saying to you, you're forced into doing it, but I do recommend you linking them to double game weeks or blank game weeks to get the maximum potential for your team. And the 5th and final tip is to target players who don't blank, have double game weeks and good fixtures. Now, as FPL managers, we always target players who have good fixtures. That's our speciality, it's our bread and butter. But the second half of the season, and with the blanks and doubles, there's an extra complexity added to this. We want to get the players who have good fixtures, but we need them to also don't blank and maximize the doubles. So there's a bit more planning needed for this stage. So fixture tick has become even more important in this period. So this is taken from Fantasy Scout members area, game week 25 to 28. Game week 29 isn't added to this yet, the blank, and also the double hasn't been added for 25. But if you have a quick look, it's just based on fixture difficulty, and you can see Brentford, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Arsenal all coming into good fixtures for the next 4 or 5 games. And at the bottom, Man City, Southampton, Newcastle, Forest, Wolves, all teams coming into trickier fixtures. So basically, we want to sell players from those teams and buy players from the teams above. An example would be Brentford and Bournemouth. Now, not only do these have good fixtures coming up, they also tick one of the other boxes, which is they don't blank in 29. Unfortunately, they don't double, but then they help you get past game week 29 without any stress. So a couple of these players in your squad will go a long way to helping you avoiding using free hit in 29 if that's what you want to do. Now, looking at Bournemouth, they're having an incredible season. 4 players on the screen, very cheap, will improve most FPL teams, to be honest. Cliver is flying, 5.9 million, unreal consistency and taking penalties. Dango playing up front, so currently out of position FPL asset, we love that. Semenyo's frustrated us throughout the season, but still remains an excellent asset. And lastly, Kirkes at 4.9 million, what a bargain. One of the players I've earmarked, if Trent is out, potentially I could go there if I didn't want a double game week player, but I wanted to ease the pain of game week 29. So just 4 quick examples from Bournemouth for you. Brentford, the same. Tick both boxes, good fixtures, don't blank in 29. And then you've got Mbumo and Wissa, both excellent players, never really let you down in FPL. Good option. So that's an example of utilizing the fixtures and getting the other criteria ticked off as well, not blanking in 29. Now, to make things even more complicated, I've already said I don't want them to blank. I want them to have as maximum doubles as possible, and I want them to have good fixtures. The last thing I want to add is also I want these players to be playing the weakest teams in our league. So if you look at the graphic on the screen right now, it's ordered via XG conceded, but we also have goals conceded, big chances conceded, shots on target, and it's only the last 6 games when I'm looking at defensive weaknesses. Looking at the top, Southampton, Manchester United, Wolves, Ipswich, Leicester and Tottenham. These teams, we want to target them. So again, I'm adding another layer in our selection criteria for players, and this is why planning is so pivotal around this period. So that's the 4 criteria I'm currently using when bringing in a player. I want them to have as much doubles as possible, don't blank, have great fixture run, but also playing the weakest teams possible. If you can get players that tick all 4 boxes, you're in the perfect position. I mean, it's very unlikely if you're getting 2 or 3 boxes ticked, that's still a good asset to have in your FPL team. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Now, before you jump off to your next video, do me a favor, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And the last thing I'm going to say is on my live streams, I run weekly competitions on the Predictions League. It's good fun, loads have been entering, and the prizes are really, really good. Get the notification bell on, and then you'll know when I'm live streaming and you can join in.